And I'm with Fairfax County's Department of Transportation. And I want to welcome you to this meeting tonight to discuss the traffic calming plan for Old Mill Road. We can begin with introductions. And tonight from FCDOT, we have Banaz Raouf and Nicole Machakwa. Sorry, Nicole. And from the Mount Vernon District Supervisor's Office, we have Peyton Smith. And if any of the community's task force members are logged on to tonight's meeting, they can introduce themselves during the Q&A that will follow a short presentation. So Banaz, if you are ready, you can go ahead and start the presentation for Old Mill Road.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting, and thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we are going to explain the traffic calming process for Old Mill Road. So first of all, I'll go over a couple of items before I begin. Please note that the session is being recorded and may be shared on social media. Please hold all questions until the end of presentation, and the instruction for how to ask your question will be provided after the presentation. Today, we're here to explain the traffic calming process, provide an opportunity for community's feedback, and answering any questions you all may have. So generally, traffic calming is the installation of physical devices to reduce vehicle speed. These devices can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices are driven over, such as speed hump showing on the top left of the screen, while you drive around horizontal devices, such as rates, median islands, showing on the top right of the screen. Both types of devices make the road safer for both drivers and pedestrians. I want you to know that through this process, we are not permitted to install stop signs. Here we have charts and images showing the effects of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. Also, with reduced speed, we come to significant reduction in the number and severity of crashes involving motor vehicles. So if you look at the slide here, we have the map of traffic calming projects throughout the county. There are over 270 projects resulting in more than 500 devices countywide. Every district has devices, and chances that you have driven over one is pretty high. So the upcoming program can be broken up into 5 steps. Step 1 is project initiation. Step 2, plan development. Step 3, community engagement. Step 4, ballot phase. And step 5, which is the final step, is project installation. And I go over each step one by one. So all traffic calming projects are always community initiating. So the process begins with a request from the community to the supervisor's office. Once the request received, we will first complete a basic eligibility review. We will then conduct a traffic study, and once it passes both the eligibility and traffic study, the community will then form a task force. There are eligibility requirements that need to be met, and they are: it needs to be VDOT maintained road, have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial, and if it is collector or arterial, it needs to be residential street. There is also traffic study components. Here we have the traffic study results for Old Mill Road. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 to 6,000 vehicles in 24 hours, both directions combined. For this project, we had 2,486, so we met the volume criteria. And for speed criteria, the 85th percentile of speed needs to be greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. This means that 15% of vehicles need to be traveling at 35 miles or faster in at least one direction of travel. The speed that we found was 50 miles per hour on eastbound and 39 on westbound, which means that we met the speed criteria as well. Plan development is the second step. First, we will conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop a draft plan. Once we have the draft plan, we'll meet with the task force to get feedback, and then amend the plan if necessary. Once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, homeowners directly adjacent to any proposed measures will need to sign off the placement of the device in order to move on to the next step. Here we have device placement requirements. Based on the guideline, we need minimum 300 feet between measures and from existing step conditions. We need minimum of 150 feet from an intersection, minimum 150 feet for adequate sight distance with any device. And it has to be fit on the existing roadway. So we have to take into account any driveways, manhole, utilities, and also we count for the grade of the road. So based on available options at site visit, we are able to propose the plan. For Old Mill Road as seen in this device map, we are able to propose one speed hump and one speed table with cutouts mainly for emergency vehicles and two stripe parking showing in blue lines. And they are more visible in images zoomed in. Also, the adjacent addresses are listed in blue boxes that need to obtain sign off by homeowners since the proposed devices are adjacent to their homes. Here you can see the schematic of speed hump with cutouts. So speed hump is 12 feet long and 3 inches in center. In addition, there will be a speed hump sign and the recommended 15 mile per hour sign on each side. Also, there will be white chevrons on each traveling lane. And here we have the schematic of speed table with cutouts. So speed table is 22 feet long compared to speed hump, which is 12 feet long and 3 inches in center. And here also in addition, there will be speed hump sign and the recommended 15 mile per hour sign on each side. Plus there will be white chevrons on each traveling lane as well. Here you can see a better image of stripe parking that has been proposed. This is the proposed device on the west, proposed stripe parking on the west side of the Old Mill Road. And this image shows the stripe parking being proposed on the east side of the Old Mill Road. Step 3 is a community meeting, which is where we are here tonight. This is where we present the plan for the community to obtain feedback. Based on the feedback we receive, the task force will decide whether to amend the plan or proceed to the next phase. If the task force decides to move forward, we can move forward to the ballot phase. So in ballot phase, each household in the ballot area will receive 1 vote. It will need to send it directly to the district supervisor's office. The ballot period will be open for a minimum of 3 weeks, and supervisor's office will tally the votes and notify the task force of the results. Here you can see the sample of the ballot. The proposed devices will be listed on the ballot, and the community will be voting for the entire plan. The task force is responsible for distributing the ballot packages to everyone who are in the ballot area. And there are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. One is that you can mail the ballot. You can also hand deliver to the supervisor's office, or you can email it to the supervisor's office. Please do not return your ballot to the task force, and please use one of the methods listed above. Here we have the ballot area map for the Old Mill Road. So there are 170 ballots, and in order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all households to vote favor, and so we will need 86 yes votes to move forward. So if we get the required number of yes votes, we can move on step 5, project installation, which is the final step. So traffic calming plan will be presented to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement, and then the resolution will be sent to VDOT. FCDOT will work with Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation, and finally the traffic measures on the plan will be installed. So here is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. Now we go to Q&A session. We're going to move on. And so here we have two options. You can chat or speak. Once the chat item is activated on Teams, you can use it by typing your questions. And if you want to speak, click on raise your hand icon that you'll be unmuted once it's your turn. If you're on your phone, please push *5 to raise your hand. When it is your turn, the host will call you on just to ask your question. So you need to push *6 to unmute. And after you're finished, please push *5 to unraise your hand again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanessa. We do have someone, Lance, that has their hand raised. Lance, I'm going to go ahead and send you the request, allow your mic. Okay, and I did send the request.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm the chair of the task force. I'm from Selgrave Manor, and I appreciate all your help in getting to this point. I had a couple different questions. One was, I found it interesting that the crash risk increased at the lowest speed at 25 miles an hour. I'm not sure why that is, and I was just curious as to why at the next higher speed, the crash risk was greater or less. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about the slide that we showed where the driver's vision changed with the different speeds?
Yes, that's what I was referring to. That one right there. It seemed like, and maybe I misread the slide, but it seemed like the crash risk increased. Okay.
Now the crash risk should decrease as the speeds decrease.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought too. Maybe it was just a thing with the graphics. Two other quick questions. I've noticed in McLean, they installed a number of speed humps on one road, and then they, not all of them, but a couple of them were removed. What's the process if the neighborhood decides once this happens to remove the speed bumps?
Well, they would have to, a community would have to have a meeting like we're having tonight, and then a ballot like the one that will follow this meeting if you go forward.
Okay.
I'm not positive of devices that were removed in McLean, at least not through this program. So I'm not sure about that.
Okay, we have friends up there, and I've driven over there, and they removed a couple, but that's fine. So it's just basically the same process in reverse.
Right. It could have been also through their VDOT's repaving process, where devices might have been removed during the repaving and not yet installed when you drove back through. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay, and our task force is responsible for distributing all the ballots, whether that's by mail, by walking them around. We cannot get them back to you personally, but we can make it easier for people by self-stamping or doing something like that to the ballots.
That is correct. So you can choose how you wish to disperse. So you can mail them out. You can mail them out with postage on the return address or on the return envelope.
Yeah.
You can or walk them around the community and hand them out. But if you do walk them around and you are giving them to people at their doors, if you don't get somebody to answer, you still need to leave that ballot.
Right. Right.
So we can't have like an inconsistent dispersal of the ballots.
Yeah. So unlike the last question is, unlike the original step where it has to be the owners that vote, is that also the case in the ballot phase where because there's a number of rental properties up and down the road, and so they would we would somehow have to contact the owners or get the owners to vote as opposed to the renters.
So we generally leave that decision up to the task force and the supervisor's office, so you can have that discussion. I believe that Peyton Smith is on the meeting tonight from the supervisor's office, and you can make that determination. If you choose to deliver to the owner of the property, will help get that address of the owner if they live away from the property.
Okay. Yeah, because that was a problem. It's why we ended up with two, which is fine. But trying to attempt to contact some of the owners was difficult, and we didn't have, or at least I didn't have, a lot of success in making that happen. All right. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Okay, and then we have Jeff. You have your hand raised. I'll go ahead and send you an unmute request.
Hi, this is Jeff at Old Mill Road. Thank you so much, you and your team, for having this meeting tonight. So 2 quick questions. And the first one was kind of covered with the ballots. We want to make this as easy as possible for people to return. And with the stamps, is it possible to get self-stamping envelopes, or would we have to get our own stamps, assuming they're going to mail it back? That's the first question. And then the second question is, maybe this is a completely different department, but do you think we could get an electronic sign that flashes or does something when you exceed the speed limit?
So, pardon me, to answer the first question regarding the stamps, the community would need to supply the stamps themselves if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Generally, we do not. And then as far as the pole-mounted speed display or the electronic speed display, the police, Fairfax County Police, are the only ones right now that have access to these devices. So you would have to request a temporary installation of that pole-mounted speed display.
And is that something a private citizen can do, or does that have to come through a representative? How would that work?
Yeah, I mean, a private citizen can make that request. Correct.
Okay, sounds good. And then just, and you probably covered this already, what's the time period for the ballots to be available? Because I want to make sure that I can participate in handing those out.
So we generally want to see them out for a minimum of 3 weeks. It's a little bit larger ballot area, so it can stay open for a longer period of time if that's what the task force chooses. But they do definitely need to indicate on the ballot and the cover letter what the closing date is of the ballot process. So when the ballot is dispersed, we generally like to see a cover letter go out that just gives a brief description of the process and for people that are receiving the ballot, what they're voting on. And also the schematics for the devices that are being voted on, and then the device map also. So it would be a couple of pieces of paper, but it's important that the people receive this so they can make a decision.
Okay, so there's no specific date yet. I mean, I'm guessing it'll be just sometime over the summer when all this would be going out. I just want to make sure I don't miss it, that's all.
Right. So, right now it's not known. So the task force would have to make the determination if they want to move forward. If they do, then, it would take a few weeks to get the ballots, modified to reflect this particular project and then approved and then manufactured and sent out. So it would probably be what we're, in the early part of May. I would assume that would be more towards the end of May that they would go out if that's what the task force is able to accomplish.
Great. Okay, that's all I've got. I'm lowering my hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay, we have a written-in question here from Tracy. Tracy asks, if the ballot votes fail for speed calming devices, can 2 different striped parking lines still be installed?
So generally, we're going to have the ballot reflect all 4 devices that are being voted on. So it will be voted on as an entire package. So it would be no, it would need to be all or nothing. And we're generally going to need to see if the ballot process doesn't pass. We generally wait about 2 years before a road can come back into the program.
Okay, and I see Lance, you re-raised your hand. I'm going to go ahead and send you an unmute request.
Okay, yep, one quick question. So it's an all or nothing proposal. If we decide before we go to a ballot that we want to change the striping or the location or whatever, then we would have to put that request back into you with the appropriate agreements or of whoever's affected neighbor-wise, if we want to change this proposal. So this is kind of locked in. If we want to change it to do something different, we would have to kind of go back to the last phase and redo what we've done.
Correct. So, I mean, if you decide after this meeting that you do want to modify the plan, you would need to contact, Fairfax County. We would look at the request for modifications, see what can be done. And then if the modifications can be made, we would make them to the plan. And we would have to come back and have another community meeting because, right now people are under the impression, or the people that are on board or who might see this some point after tonight, that what is currently being presented is what's being voted on. So we would need another community meeting.
Okay, so we would need to kind of go back through the process if we want to change this. So this is what it is. And this, if we all agree that the task force agrees, we'll go out with this proposal as it is. If not, we'll have to kind of
Start
take
kind of
another circle through.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Okay, and so we have a written question from Tracy. I think she's referring to the other question. She says, and do the communities pay for printing the ballots and other documents?
So yes, I mean, the community would need to come up with the payment or the funding for the manufacture of the ballot packet.
Okay, and we do also have another written-in question from Alan. Alan asks, is the funding going to be there if the project moves forward?
Yeah, I mean, currently, the program is fairly well funded. It does need to be, we do look for funding probably once or twice a year. We generally get it through the carryover process or the quarterly adjustment. But right now we are pretty well funded, and there aren't too many projects that are further along than Old Mill.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, and right now we don't have any hands raised or anything written in the comments. So, oh, there we go. Len says, very good. Thanks for your support. You're welcome. And feel free, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to write them in or raise your hand.
I do want to point out the fact that we have yet to install the speed humper, the speed table in Fairfax County that has the cutouts for fire and rescue to pass through. So this will be a first if this passes. There are some in adjacent municipalities. The city of Alexandria does have at least one, if not more, on Russell Road. I do believe there is one near the intersection of Russell Road and Masonic View Way, I believe, is the name of the street, the cross street. And then there are also some that are installed in Arlington, over by the Arlington border with Fairfax County, around the McLean area. We could look those up if requested to do so. But these will be the first for Fairfax County if they're installed.
Okay, we do have written in here from George. I would like to make a comment, but I don't seem to have access. So let me go ahead and give you access. I'll go ahead and allow your mic. So George, George Z, guest, you are given availability to unmute your own mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I live on Gateshead Road, and you may or may not be aware that today, and about 2 hours ago, we finished the balloting phase for 4 speed humps on Gateshead Road between Forest Place and Radford Drive. And Peyton Smith was instrumental in working that through with us and helping us get that done. And I just want to comment on the entire process. I mean, it is America, so it's going to be bureaucratic, and we just have to deal with that. But for the most part, I did not find anything onerous about the process. I found it very representative, or at least, trying to be representative of the community. We did have some speed humps and bumps in the process, but I think the process in itself was very well designed, and I'm just waiting for the outcome. And so I would just like to thank Peyton and Supervisor Stork's office, as well as Fairfax County and VDOT, for the support and the efforts that have gone towards this. I mean, I personally have been working this for, no, I'm not going to tell you how long, but it's been a long time. And I do appreciate the support, and we'll see where it goes. So I wish my neighbors on Old Mill all the best, because again, we're as large as the community is, it's still a small community, and we all suffer from the same problems. So I hope everything goes well for them, and if I can be of any assistance, I'd be more than happy to help. And that's all I've got to say. But again, thank you to everybody.
All right. Thank you very much, George. Those words
Thank you,
are
George.
very much
Appreciate that.
appreciated.
Yes, thank you, George.
Peyton, did you have something to say, or?
Well, I was just saying thank you. Those are really kind words, and I'm going to do my best to try to count the ballots out for you all at Gateshead tomorrow. I've got a couple other things, but I'll definitely get it out by the end of the week for you guys.
All right, thank you. Expedient response from Gateshead.
Okay,
So-
and we do have also a written question from Alan. Are there different standards for the construction of the devices?
Well, I mean, we do. The standard that we have is given to us by VDOT. So, we have to stick with that. It's fairly similar to what's being used, in other municipalities throughout the region. They're pretty similar to what's being installed by Arlington County and by Alexandria. And I do believe that they're similar to what's installed in Maryland. As far as nationwide, they might vary a little bit, but these are pretty standard requirements for the devices, pretty standard.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Yeah. Oh, and we have written in here from Ellen. So we can expect more of the same as what we have already, assuming it passes.
You mean in comparison to what's been installed in the area? I would say yes, but also you have to realize that the cutouts will be the first time we've done these. So we are interested in seeing how that results. But the height and the width of the devices should be very similar to what other devices have been installed in the area recently.
Okay. And then he also writes in, I understand about the cutouts. Are currently questions or hands raised? We'll give it a couple more minutes to give time for others to write in, or if they have anything pop up.
And Benoz, if you want to put up the contact page,
Sure.
if people do have questions following this meeting, Peyton, I hope you don't mind, but we included the email address for Mount Vernon, for the Mount Vernon District Supervisor's Office, and I think that is your general phone number. We also have FCDOT's email address, and if people have questions following this meeting, they can send their questions to that email address and put in the subject line Old Mill Road, or they can call us at 703-877-5600 and ask to speak to somebody about the traffic calming project on Old Mill Road.
Okay, and we do have a written in here from Shannon. Will we be able to download a recording of this meeting and the slide deck at later time? So currently, Shannon, we are trying to make it available for everyone to access. This recording will be accessible to us at this moment. So if you are wanting a copy or availability to this recording, if you could reach out to the Mount Vernon District Office to Peyton Smith and request it, we will try to get it to you as soon as possible. Okay, and then we have Lance. I will send out the slide deck to all.
And Peyton, do you have any comments that you would like to make before we end tonight's meeting?
Nothing specific other than, I definitely want to thank everybody both involved in the task force. I know, Mr. Tracy, this has been a long going one for you guys. There was a lot of humps that were initially proposed and, several of which were kept. And obviously, big thanks to FCDOT. I feel like I say this every single time, but genuinely, we wouldn't be able to, frankly, get anything done without you guys. So thank you so much. And look forward to hearing what the task force decides.
All right, thank you, Peyton, and thank you for your work on these projects. And if that is it for the questions tonight, I think we are going to go ahead and end the meeting. And so everybody have a safe evening and thank you for attending. Good night.